on doing with that degree now?
Yeah. I would say, so I took I took regular geology, and that was like back when I was like, that was before I moved to LA. And I remember really enjoying it. I remember it being really fun. I don't know. I just really liked, because the labs really looked at rocks and like they were cool. I don't know. And then I took the oceanography class when I went back to school in my late 20s, and that was, in LA. I was in Pasadena. And I just thought it was so fascinating. Like I love outdoorsy things and, the earth, and I think it's fascinating. And it just goes through, it shows you like all the different processes that the earth has. And it's a beautiful thing. And I think that was what kind of like hooked me in, like plate tectonics and, the theories behind that. It's really interesting to me. So that was what really hooked me. Everyone thinks it's rocks. I don't really care too much about the rock part. I mean, they're cool. I like them. I like rocks, but
Right. Yeah. But you're not going to be, you're not going to have a collection of them in your house.
No. Yeah, everyone's like, rock? Yeah, kind of, but no. I'm more...
It's part of it, but yeah.
Processes of, geology and structural things like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so, I'm sorry?
No, I was going to say, so you're working on getting your PhD now, and then what are you going to do with it from there?
Oh, yes. So we were kind of talking about teaching. I do enjoy teaching. So that's the ultimate goal, is I want to teach college level, because I know I've tried teaching classes. At least I was able to do that through Muay Thai and know that that's not the place for me. But I do like teaching, but I like teaching adults. So I want to teach college level. So that's ultimately why I'm going back, because you can't teach college level with just a bachelor's degree.
Oh.
Yes. So that's the ultimate goal. I'm very passionate about environmental issues and sustainability. So that's why instead of going just geology PhD, I'm going environmental science. It's a little more, broad and a little more geared towards that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It is. I always thought it was fascinating that we know more about like the land, and even that we don't know so much about, than we do the ocean. And it's like, why were we not, like the world is mostly water. Why are we not learning about what's going on down there? So like, it's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I always think of the movie The Abyss. I was always obsessed with that movie as a kid.
I never saw that one. I hear it's a classic, but I've never seen it.
It's a classic. Yeah, you should definitely watch it. It's a little bit, strange and far-fetched, but yeah, it's cool.
Well, I think it's a John Carpenter movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I know that, but I do. Now, I also saw that you have an associate's degree in guitar performance.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So that's why I went to LA initially. I went to music school.
Ah.
Yeah, so that was my ticket out. That was my reason. I finished my degree, and I play recreationally, here and there. It was a very expensive mistake, I guess, but not really a mistake, because it changed my life. But yeah, you realize you can't do much with, an associate's degree in art.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah, but I did teach. I taught guitar and voice and piano lessons while I was in school there too. So I've always kind of taught.
That's really cool. So you play recreationally now. Are you more of an acoustic, electric, Spanish guitar? Can you do it all?
I mean, I used to play electric a lot, but I play more acoustic now, I would say, than anything, because it's right there. I can just grab it whenever I feel like playing. Yeah. And I'm trying to talk my husband into getting a piano. I started on piano. I'm get that, yeah.
If you're going to get a piano, make sure you are in the home that you're going to be in for quite a while, or the apartment you're going to be in for quite a while, because those things are not light.
Yeah, they're very heavy. He's like, we're going to have to hire movers. I'm like, yeah.
That, and anytime you move, you have to get it retuned, and it's,
Yes. Yeah.
But when it's in your home, it's worth it. So,
Yeah. So I've lived many lives. I did music and Muay Thai for a very long time after that. And it's funny because one kind of led me to the other. So, and And now, I'm transitioning out of that part of my life and moving into another one. So, yeah.
You're just creating more experiences and stories, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So many adventures.
Now, when you picked up Muay Thai, but you said you picked up more of just like a fitness kind of workout that you enjoyed.
Yeah.
How did that finally transition into, all right, I'm going to take a fight, and then walk us through that first fight?
Yeah. So, well, actually the teacher of the class, she was a professional fighter. So I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize thing. You can do that? Really? So then I got curious and looked into it, and then I was looking up fighters, and that's where I found Julie Kitchen, and she's a OG in the sport. And so I just got interested, and then I kind of expressed interest to her, and she said, this isn't really a fight gym. I'll take you to a fight gym, and then, we can see how it goes for you there, and if it goes well, we can see about getting you a fight. I was like, okay. So she took me there, and then she took me to the yard, and that's where I still train today. And I met Mark and Joe, and I had my first sparring session, and I got my ass kicked, but it was great. I showed a lot of heart. And then so I just kind of started training for my first fight, and then I think it was a year after I had my first fight, and oh my God, I really don't remember much from it. You're in headgear, full gear, mouthpiece, shin guards, all the stuff. And I do remember my mentality, and my mentality was, I've never done this, so who gives a shit if I win or lose? I just want to try it. So, and I went in there, and I just remember it being a blurry barrage of wild punches, kicks, and I'm sure it was ugly. I don't have the video of it, so I don't know. That was before iPhones. Right. And yeah. So I just remember I threw some Superman punches, and then the ending was probably the most memorable because her name was Morgan Shaw, and my name is Natalie Morgan. So the announcer looked at the card, and I don't think it said red and blue. I think it had our actual names as the winner and the loser, and he got confused, and he announced her as the winner. And then I was like, oh, whatever, no big deal. I lost. Like I said, never done it before, don't care. Just wanted to try it. And then 2 seconds later, the announcer comes back. He's like, I'm so sorry. We've made a mistake. The winner is, red corner. And I was like, I won? They're like, yeah, you won. So it was the first fight I got to lose and win all at the same time. And I remember she was that girl was crying. They had to take the trophy out of her hand. I felt bad. I was like, oh my God, it's terrible.
But you won, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I was more happy about that. Let's be real.
Yeah, true. Now, you go on from that one, and then at some point it says you're the first Caucasian female to fight at Lumpini Stadium, which is in Bangkok, and the stadium was built back in 1956.
Yeah.
What was that feeling and experience like?
So that was great. That was actually only a year ago. I actually fought this year at least 1 year to the day. I didn't realize it. I was like, that's crazy. That was really surreal, honestly, because, when I started fighting, women weren't even allowed in most of the rings in Thailand still because we were considered bad luck to be inside the ring. So to go from that, and not even having that many women in this sport, period, to see that, and then, okay, now we have our first woman in UFC, which was Ronda Rousey. I remember watching that. Right. Okay, now they're starting to let women in martial arts again, or in martial arts more, and then, going from that to, oh, wow, so now more women are interested in Muay Thai, so now there's more women, there's more fights, there's more opportunities. And then 2 years ago-ish, they said, okay, we're going to let women fight at Lumpini. So I was like, wow, that I never thought that I would see that, let alone be someone who would get to fight there. It never even crossed my mind because women weren't allowed to fight there, So to go from women weren't allowed to fight there to, oh, wow, you are actually going to fight there. And then, after I fought, I realized, I was actually the first Caucasian American female to fight at Lumpini. That's crazy. I had no idea. There have been a couple other American girls, I think they're Asian American girls, But I was the first Caucasian American. So, in a, Asian country, I feel like it's kind of special.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thanks.
So I also saw that you're on season 2 of the Challenger Muay Thai. How did this happen? Like, tell us about this experience.
So that was a crazy experience. That actually happened only 3 weeks after I fought at Lumpini. I went straight from Thailand to Malaysia. So I got recommended for the show by the head of the United States Muay Thai Federation because I fought for them the previous year in a tournament for the World Games qualifier. So, I went through all the interview process and they said, okay, we would love to have you. And then they had some budget cuts and they're like, we're so sorry. They kept changing dates and pushing dates. That's how production goes. So I understand that. Lived in LA, but then they're like, we had budget cuts. You're not going to be able to come now. And I was like, okay, no problem. So that's why I booked the fight in Thailand. I was like, oh, no big deal. I'll just go to Thailand and fight. And then they called me back while I was there, and they're like, just kidding, we still would like you to come. Something, happened and we're able to have you. I was like, okay, great. I was nervous. I knew I would be living in I thought it was a house with, how many women were there? There were 6 of us, so 5 total women in a house. And I've lived by myself, well, other than my husband now, but like living alone since I was like 19 or 20. I was very nervous. I'm more anxious about that than anything. And then we get there and I see the room and it's a room. It's literally a room and we have 2 bunk beds.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh my God. But I am telling you, the other fighters that were on the show with me were just fantastic human beings. And it was like a joy to be there with them. It felt like we were kind of in the trenches together, even though we knew we had to fight each other, at some point. So, and it was crazy. Like, I really didn't know what I was jumping into because I never saw the first season because it was filmed way back in 2011. And you can find clips and stuff online, but I don't think you can, like, watch the actual whole thing anywhere. So I didn't really know what I was getting into. I knew it was a competition fight show, kind of like UFC's Contender, but there were also, like, physical challenges like Survivor. So
really?
It was insane. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, oh, wow, this is nuts. Like, we were doing these crazy challenges, and we had teams at first. But, yeah, and then plus training, plus the interviews that we were doing all the time. I was like, people are going to watch this and be like, why are you tired all the time? I'm like, dude, I'm exhausted. But, yeah, and then you were fighting, at one point. So, and if you weren't fighting, you were there watching the fights. We all went and watched the fights, so that was kind of cool. Saw a lot of fights in a short amount of time.
What did you learn, I guess, from that experience of kind of just like rapid fire, fights like that?
Yeah. I learned so many things from that experience. I learned that I could also adapt to any crazy situation living in a bunk bed, above someone that actually shared a bed with someone else because there weren't enough bunk beds.
Right.
We actually worked really well together and living together wasn't terrible. So it was nice to know that I could do that. I did learn a lot of things, from the training. We had mentors there that, who had been previous fighters. Actually, Kaylee Reese, she's an ex-fighter. She was there helping me out a lot. And that she's kind of the one that was, I was talking a lot too about retirement. We were talking about that. So, it was just a crazy experience. I'd never do it again, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, you got it out of your system and you know that you don't want to do that again.
Yes. Yeah. They're saying it's supposed to come out here this winter. That's what they're saying. I would love for it to come here and, my friends and family get to see it, even though I think they make me look cocky. But, and so I want everyone to see it.
Well, I imagine there was also people, playing up like a character really because
they can edit. It's like they sat us in there and we'd have an interview and it was literally an hour and then they take like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So, they edit and edit and edit and edit to be what they want.
Oh yeah, they slice and dice that thing. I imagine that they probably cut multiple interviews together just to get like a certain sound bit that they wanted.